Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first want to really thank the gentleman, applaud the gentleman from Delaware and our leaders and the Senate leaders and, yes, our governor for finally giving us a fiscally responsible budget. We've heard some rhetoric here today from my right, and I want to address some of it, because I keep hearing that we have about $1.4 billion on the table. And to those same gentlemen, I'd like to know, where is the outstanding debt of $12.9 billion, the pension liabilities of $29.4 billion, the unemployment compensation getting close to $4 billion, roads and bridges $3.5 billion, the MCARE judgment is $716 million. It's over $50 million, Mr. Speaker. On what table is this on? Do you have a debt table as well? If you have $1.4 million on the table, I'm sure you got to have a table that's going to hold these liabilities that the Commonwealth is facing. I heard some comments earlier about the Department of Public Welfare, and it has become the whipping boy. A few years ago, folks, the Auditor General did come back with an audit stating there's at least $450 million in fraud. I stood at that mic back there, and I questioned the majority leader at that time, and I says, are you going to look into this fraud? And he says, we don't agree with him. I says, but, he was a senator, and he's of your party, and if he's saying that there's $400 million in fraud, we should look at it. And I applaud our leaders for doing just that. However, you hear questions about, well, what happens if this is not accurate? Well, maybe if it's not accurate, you still have some dollars left that you can fill in the hole. But believe me, I think you're going to find that it's more than accurate. We heard some comments about we being the friends of big business. And we heard about this bonus depreciation, which is really a federal mandate. The federal government has expanded it to businesses to take that depreciation, a one-time depreciation this year versus over a period of years. And what our governor has done is he's allowed them to do the same thing in Pennsylvania. Now, it's not a freebie. They would have had that write-off over a period of years. But the same individual that made that comment, where was he when a certain company from Philadelphia received $42.75 million in grants from the prior governor? $42.75 million in grants. We talk about the education funding. There's been, figure it's lacking the stimulus dollars, but yet the Commonwealth has put more dollars into education than any other budget ever. Just think about that. We're hearing that the cuts are $1.1 billion in stimulus money that is no longer there. And I did warn the other side of the aisle 2 years ago from this podium, saying that if you don't watch and you put that money into those budgets and grow budgets, you're going to run into a problem in 2 years. One thing about using stimulus money for one-time items, to try to hold on to one-time investments, but to do it continuously, and not only to do it, but to grow a budget, was the wrong thing to do. And here we are, 2 years later, facing that decision, that horrible decision that was made. I listen to my taxpayers back home, and they keep saying that of course, the government is too expensive. We need to look at ways to reduce. And in this budget, there's over $50 million of the legislative reserve accounts that is going back into the general fund, that we're putting it back into the general fund. I applaud the leaders, and I really look to the members to support this budget. Look, there's some cuts in here. No one's going to tell you that there's no cuts. But understand one thing. If we don't live within our means this year, next year, when all of us are standing at those mics, we're really going to have major problems, because every mistake you make this year will only double next year. So again, I ask the members for an affirmative vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Question.